What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. You see the Motor City Cats? We back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. We got a spicy meatball today. Today, the meatball is very spicy. We're going to get into it. I was going to start talking about the forgotten few, the free agents that we haven't brought back. Are we bringing them back? Are we not bringing them back? What kind of contract you can expect? What happens with those situations if we don't bring them back? I'm pretty sure that there are some guys on the list that we will probably bring back. I mean, I think a big one is probably the commish. You know what I'm saying? Depth on the defensive line. I know he was injured all of last year, but you brought Pat O'Connor back. You brought AQM back. And I think AQM is probably a better player than Pat O'Connor as far as the production that he gave you and the fact that he just continued to go up and up and up and up every game. I think him on the other side of Hutch, just in a rotation, just in depth, is going to be much more impactful than, let's say, a Pat O'Connor next to a DJ Reader. I was going to talk about all that, and I probably still will talk about all that because that's the point of you guys being here. But I really want to talk about this article by Ben Zolak, or Solak, I think is how you say it, writes for ESPN. So he graded all of the off-season moves. According to Ben Solak, the Detroit Lions have a top 5 off-season. What up, though, Kane? Pressed. Let me make sure that, I get her first before she accuses me of ignoring comments. She has, Brad Holmes is full of ish for letting Za'Darius go. Most of us are angry about that and we're upset about it. We're going to get to it. All right, so I've reached out to Lion Syndicate to see if he would like to come and talk about this on Friday, because I'd like to get his perspective. I know what my perspective is, okay? I can understand why you would say, and we're going to go over Ben Solak's article, and I can understand why you would say that the Detroit Lions have a top 5 offseason. As to why you said it, I understand all of that. Do I agree with it? There are points that I agree with. All right, let's get to it. So the introduction of his article explains everything, and then we'll get to the Detroit Lions one, and then we can talk about ones from the NFC North, and then we can get to the remaining free agents. All right. So he says, welcome to the new league year. Joey Bosa is a Bill, Geno Smith is a Raider, and Joe Thuney is a Bear. What a time we live in. Now that all of the free agency dust has settled, now that all of the free agency dust outside of Aaron Rodgers' control has settled, I'm ranking all 32 teams by their offseason process. I didn't want to just rank their incoming free agent classes because that would simply be a ranking of which team spent the most money. I tried to consider everything, not just free agent acquisitions and departures, but trades and extensions and restructures. I knocked teams that signed great players but probably overspent or had poor priorities. I rewarded teams that spent little but did so wisely and attacked the right positions. What could have been was also considered. The Browns don't get points for signing Myles Garrett to the same contract everyone would have, when they're the only team that could have gotten picks by giving that contract to someone else. Of course, the same is true for other teams. Why didn't the Bengals trade T. Higgins or the Rams trade Matthew Stafford? But those are teams with legitimate shots at contention, whose moves whose moves I grade differently than those of spiraling franchises like the Browns. Think of those as NFL power rankings, but only predicting, or think of these as NFL power rankings, but only grading the 5 weeks and ignoring everything that came before. For Bills fans, hopefully you'll be at the top of the real power rankings by February. As much they're highly subjective, and splitting hairs within tiers can be challenging. I waffled on the order while writing this, and I waffle still as I read it. With that note of supreme confidence cast, or if with that vote, sorry, of supreme confidence cast, here are my off-season rankings. All right. So now you guys know what his criteria was for all of these rankings. What up, though, J-Rod? What up, though, Run the Ball? So let's get into where the Lions rank. All right, we're going to click on good old Detroit right here. The Detroit Lions. Drum roll, please. All right, do we have a drum roll? I don't have a drum roll. I should probably get a drum roll. Why don't I have a drum roll? Let's see. Well, I guess we'll do this. Okay. Breaking news, I guess, is enough, right? We don't have a drum roll. But the Detroit Lions are number 4. The Detroit Lions, according to Ben Solak, have the number 4 offseason in the NFL. All right. Kane Press says we won't be the best team in NFC North because we ain't made no damn moves, and the Patriots just got Stephon Diggs. I think Patriots getting Stephon Diggs is a bad move. But here we go. These are the reasons why the Detroit Lions are in the number 4 spot. And there is one NFC North team above them, and we will talk about that team in a bit. All right, so the Detroit Lions, we have key acquisitions and returning players. Linebacker, Derek Barnes. Cornerback, DJ Reed. Defensive tackle, Levi Onwuzurike. Edge, Marcus Davenport. Defensive tackle, Roy Lopez. All right, so for me, as I am being billed as the Davenport hater, I apparently, okay. Again, I don't hate Marcus Davenport. I just hate his health. Just hate his health situation. I'd love for Marcus Davenport to get every cent of that $4.75 million that he signed as an incentive-laden deal, because that means that he's played the entire season. That means he's gotten sacks. That means he's gotten tackles for losses. Tackles for loss. That means he's done all the things that he needed to do and it was expected of him when he signed with this team originally. I want that to happen. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Okay? Most people who can help the team, I want them on the team. Other than Jeffrey Ohelno-Kuda, who couldn't help the team, who I didn't want on the team. All right? But most people. Okay? No, the Bears are not anywhere near number 1. They're not even in the top 10K for their moves. All right. So here's what he says. He has them in 2 paragraphs: I loved and I didn't love. So he says, I love the retentions. The Lions' lone big ticket free agent addition was Reed, who replaces the outgoing Carlton Davis III at a $4 million yearly discount. $4 million yearly discount. That's a solid swap. Otherwise, they kept Barnes on a cheap deal relative to other linebackers, Onwuzurike, an ascending pass rushing defensive tackle who had to moonlight as a defensive end last season, and Davenport, who is a good scheme fit but missed almost the entire season with injury. Offensive tackle Dan Skipper is back too, and wideout Tim Patrick. Sometimes Super Bowl contenders unnecessarily shuffle the deck. The Lions were wise to keep the band together and continue trusting in their process. All right. Now, here's the situation. There really one player that he mentioned, or we could say two, but I did already talk about Marcus Davenport. So let's mention the one player. Levi Onwuzurike is an ascending pass rushing defensive tackle who had 3 half sacks. I get the pressures, but when you have 22 defenders on IR, you need to get home. I understand he wasn't playing next to Aiden Hutchinson. I know he wasn't really playing next to Aleem McNeil. He was playing next to DJ Reader, who was a big ticket, not a big ticket, but a big acquisition last year when he came in free agency. Remember, I said, do not let this man out of town, out of the building. And they locked him in the building, quite literally. They didn't book a return flight for him back to Houston. Nothing. They didn't let him leave the building without a contract. Okay? This is what I said that they should do. This is what they did. But unlike others, unlike other Lions creators, I'm not going to tell you that I was the reason that the Detroit Lions did anything. The Detroit Lions don't watch my channel. Okay? Former Detroit Lions know about my channel. Shout out Herman Moore and LNU. Okay? However, the current Detroit Lions, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, they don't watch Motor City Cats and look for inspiration as to what they should do and shouldn't do. Okay? That's just not how they operate. But he wasn't really playing next to anyone other than DJ Reader because everyone was injured. This is the time when you say that a person is ascending, well, they need to step up and show what they can do. And I don't think Levi Onwuzurike with 3 half sacks did a terrible amount to bolster his talent argument. Now, because he didn't do great on a contract year, because the production of, if you're billing yourself as a pass rushing lineman because you want that $20 million a year, well, having 3 half sacks doesn't do it. So this is why he came back on a very cheap deal. I think it was what, 5.5 million or up to 5.5 million. So the contract is great. You have a depth piece who's been on your team, who was finally healthy for the first time last year. I would expect him, because he's finally healthy, I would expect him going into this year to have a much better year than last year. He's going to be in a rotation with Roy Lopez and himself and whatever possible rookie that we could bring in here. If it's a first round rookie, if it's a rookie at 28, if it's a Derek Harmon or someone else like that, then yeah, he's not going to be starting in the rotation, or he's not really going to be at the top of the rotation. It's going to be the rookie plus DJ Reader, unless you happen to beat him out in camp. So that move for the Detroit Lions, while it was important depth-wise, I don't know that I love it, right? But it was also very important for the Detroit Lions, as we're going to get into a little bit later, to bring back their own free agents. There were a lot of free agents. A lot. I think it was 20 or something like this. Okay? So that's a lot of people that you have to get under contract. So I get it, and I understand it from that aspect. J Rod says, I'm confused. The Lions org don't watch podcasts for ideas or moves. Probably not. I don't think so. There are others who believe that the Lions organization watched them and changed things for them. They changed the way they do press conferences. They changed the way that their body language works and moves, and how they talk about the moves that they're going to make. Apparently, they move around times of press conferences for people, stuff like that. But I would never claim that this is what's happening with me and my channel. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Um, Go ahead, get them super chats in, man. Remember, your boy is trying to come home and do a game at Ford Field this summer, right after training camp or during training camp, one of the preseason games, depending on when that happens. I don't know when it's going to happen. The schedule hasn't been released yet, but that is what that is. It says, "Happy birthday, Blue Lightning." I don't know who that is. I don't recognize the player as Blue Lightning. If you mean JMO, then yes, that's who we're talking about. All right. So here's moves that he didn't love. I didn't love the implications behind the Kyle Allen signing. There's nothing wrong with the signing. Everyone loves a veteran quarterback at QB2, but the Lions are making it clear they do not trust Hendon Hooker. They replaced him at QB2 with Teddy Bridgewater last season. Once Bridgewater was done coaching his way to a high school championship, and Hooker will now battle with Allen for the same job. At this point, I'd be surprised if the 2023 third round pick becomes a reliable backup anywhere. The Lions probably need a new developmental QB in the future. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna agree with him on that situation, and this is another thing that I couldn't understand about the Myles Garrett situation. The Detroit Lions have pretty much diminished. What up, though? House is 42. House is 42 says, "Why is it that you guys think the Lions don't actually make moves? Can't be money. They have money. What is it?" Here, I'll get to that in a second. Okay. Um. So the thing with Hendon Hooker, the Lions really diminished his value in the eyes of the rest of the league. You bring a guy off of a coaching staff. He was the head coach of a high school team who just won the state championship, and you bring him out of semi-retirement right back into your locker room, and then you make him. Not only did you bring him back, but basically the week that you brought him back, you made him, or did they bring him back in the bye? So he had a week to practice and then a week to get ready for the game. You know, a week to get back into game shape and a week to get ready for the actual game that they were playing again against the Washington Commanders in the divisional round of the playoffs. So you bring that guy back for that game and you make him QB2 and you make the other guy in Hendon Hooker the emergency quarterback. What does that say to the rest of the league? Now, instead of going, all right, let's rock with Hendon Hooker, you sign Kyle Allen. Now, I don't really believe that it is that big of a deal because you always are going to sign camp bodies and camp arms and things of this nature. I mean, it was pretty clear that he beat out Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld hasn't been sniffed by anyone. Okay, to my knowledge, he's not on anyone's practice squad. He's definitely not on anybody's active roster to back up their quarterback and to be the guy that's going to come in the game if your quarterback goes down. Okay, if Nate Sudfeld comes into the game because your quarterback can't go for the rest of the game, you might as well forfeit. Just give up, quit. Okay, don't try to play the rest of the game. Don't try to convince your team that Nate Sudfeld is going to be the reason that you guys are going to be able to hold on to win this game, or if you were down, the reason that you're going to be able to come back and win this game. Don't sell that to your team, because as a coach, if you do that, you're going to lose a bunch of credibility in the locker room. Okay? So if Nate Sudfeld is on your team and your quarterback gets injured and he cannot finish the game, quit. Okay? The only way you shouldn't quit is if you are ahead by at least 4 touchdowns. Okay? Because if you're ahead by at least 4 touchdowns and you've got 15 minutes left in the game, you got 1 quarter, just know your offense is not going to score any more points unless you hand the ball off. You got someone like a Jahmyr Gibbs he's a home run hitter who can take it 70 plus yards to the house in one play. That might work for you. If you don't have that type of player on your roster and Nate Sudfeld comes in, you're not scoring more points, not even 3. Unless your defense is going to score the points, you're not scoring more points. Offense is not doing it. What up, though, Tactical Sport? All right. So it was clear that Hendon Hooker beat that guy out. David Blau retired and went into coaching and so on and so forth. If you're battling Kyle Allen, that's fine. I mean, again, you want to see how Hendon Hooker has grown over the time that he's been there. But it was the Teddy Bridgewater thing for me, which was the most damning. I really don't think Kyle Allen moves the needle in any way about what Teddy Bridgewater can bring to this team. I understand that Kyle Allen is experienced, he's a veteran, but you want to see, hey, can Hendon Hooker beat this guy out? Okay, if he can beat Kyle Allen out, then, he's progressing in the way that we thought he would be. If he cannot, then that's a concern. If you go into the season next year with Kyle Allen as your number 2 quarterback and Hendon Hooker as your number 3, that means he's been supplanted by Kyle Allen, and he's going to be the emergency quarterback, which means he's not going to dress most of the time. But I think with the Teddy Bridgewater situation, you pretty much diminished the value of Hendon Hooker. This is why I couldn't understand why so many people thought that Hendon Hooker was going to be traded as part of any deal, as if like the Browns were going to go, hey, we'll give you, you can take away one of those picks that we're asking for because we want that quarterback that you have. I don't know that they wanted Hendon Hooker. If the team that drafted you in the 3rd round and waited for you to get healthy and develop, tried to develop you and all this other stuff, if they've shown you that, hey, let's put in a retired head high school football coach straight out of retirement into the biggest game of the season, not you, I think that showed a lot. So we'll see what happens with the Hendon Hooker. K Ain't Press says, do the Lions have the best roster? Okay, so that's a good question. So he said all of this, and he ranked the Lions as number 4. I don't hate the Lions roster, and I don't think that the Lions roster needs a lot of improvement. I have been very, very consistent that you need an edge rusher. I'm cool with the cornerback stuff. I think they got better in the cornerback room. Why do I believe that they got better in the cornerback room? Because you replaced Kendall Vildor and Emmanuel Mosley with Avonte Maddox and Rock Ya-Sin, okay, who are both better players than the 2 guys that they replaced. Now, maybe Emmanuel Mosley is better than both of them. He was the number 1 cornerback on a top 5 defense and blah, 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 blah. We heard it all before, but he wasn't able to play at all. He did 3 snaps in 2 years with the Detroit Lions? 3 snaps. Okay, cool. So I didn't have a problem with the signings in the defensive backfield. I also didn't have a problem with the Roy Lopez signing while it's not a big signing, while it's not something that is going to turn your head and make you go, ooh, Roy Lopez, now we're cooking. You needed someone because Aleem McNeil is not going to be ready for week 1. He's going to be on the PUP to start the season most likely, which means he's going to miss at least the first 4 games. Okay, so you got Roy Lopez, you brought back Levi Onwuzurike, and now it's Levi Onwuzurike and Roy Lopez. And I think Mekhi Wingo got hurt around the same time, or did he get hurt a little bit before Aleem McNeil? But let's just say Mekhi Wingo is going to be back at the beginning of the season. So now you've got Roy Lopez, Mekhi Wingo, and Levi Onwuzurike. Does that move the needle? No, but the draft is coming. Did you get worse on the defensive line by bringing back Levi, um, and then signing Roy Lopez. Yes, you did because Aleem McNeil is the one that's going to be starting for you. Um, but did you need to make those signings? Yes, you did. You took care of the things that you needed to do, and they will be depth pieces. And in the draft, you could even second, third rounder. A third rounder might be better than both of them. A fourth rounder might be better than both of them. Who knows? Okay. But you gave yourself some flexibility. You gave yourself some depth. Um, as far as this roster, did we lose anyone that we didn't have, or did we lose anyone that was instrumental in causing this team to go 15-2? And that's what you have to ask. My answer would be no. We did lose Carlton. Okay, no, let me take that back. We lost Carlton Davis. We lost Kevin Zeitler. Did we replace them? We replaced Carlton Davis. We didn't replace Kevin Zeitler. But Kevin Zeitler's replacement, so they believe, was already on the team in Christian Mahogany. So did they get better? Is Christian Mahogany better than Kevin Zeitler? I'm not going to say he is. Okay. I don't know how much worse he is, because if you're not better, that means you're worse or you're the same. So I don't know how much worse he is. I don't know if there's going to be a huge drop off between Kevin Zeitler and Christian Mahogany, but then again, there also might be a huge drop off. Okay. So as far as the people that we lost, but then again, the people that we're getting back. Okay, you're gonna have Hutch back. You're gonna have Aleem McNeil back, albeit not at the beginning of the season. You brought back Derek Barnes. You're gonna get Malcolm Rodriguez back, albeit not at the beginning of the season. You're gonna get Mekhi Wingo back. You're gonna get back a lot of pieces that were on IR. Again, 22 pieces went to IR for this season. Okay, obviously you're not getting back Carlton Davis. Okay, you let Iffy go. Were there enough moves that you made to say that the Detroit Lions got better this offseason? In the secondary, yes, we got better. And I don't mean Carlton Davis and DJ Reed were, like DJ Reed is 100% better than Carlton Davis. I think DJ Reed may do some things better than Carlton Davis, and Carlton Davis may do some things that are better than DJ Reed. So if you're going to say that those two are a wash, or Carlton Davis is a little bit better, or DJ Reed is a little bit better, that's fine. I still think that the Detroit Lions have a great roster. It's a fantastic roster. And most people believe that if we were able to get past the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game, then we would have been able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, would our line have looked the way that their line looked? Maybe, probably not. If you have a healthy Aiden Hutchinson, a healthy Davenport, and a healthy Aleem McNeil and DJ Reader in there, are you going to be able to get after and generate the pressure that the Philadelphia Eagles were? And if you want to say not at the same rate, but we would have been able to generate a lot of pressure with a fully healthy defensive line, I'm going to agree with you. Okay? I feel like if you had done half of what the Philadelphia Eagles defense was able to do to Patrick Mahomes, you probably win easily. You probably win going away, just like the Eagles did, but maybe not as much. Right? Instead of them being down 30 points at one point in the game, maybe they're down by 21. Okay? So that's what I think. I think that the Detroit Lions still have a very good roster. But there's a caveat. The schedule is much tougher next year. It is much less favorable. Right? The stars at quarterback that we're going to play scare me, which is why I'm clamoring for an edge rusher. What does that even mean? Um, tactical tactical Spork says we also need to resign Z Smith. The D line got worse when we cut him. Um, yes. If he balling out in Miami is something that I hope to see because I hope he stays healthy. This is the reason. If you have to remember that if he was not able to stay on the field, which is why his development took a hit because he was always hurt. He was always injured. Um, if he's a great player, I would have loved to see him come back, but do remember he was hurt for most of the year. He finally came back. He got hurt again in the divisional round. I don't know what the injury was. I just know they were kind of like the medical staff was like holding his arm and he was very timid with it as he walked off the field. And then we had Morris Norris filling in his spot. So, that's the thing. Belinda Brown says odds Lions trade up for a particular player I haven't been on in a while. Belinda Brown, I would say that, and what up though? I would say that the odds that the Lions trade up are pretty good. I feel like Brad Holmes trades up every year. He didn't trade up to get Hutch. He didn't trade up to get Penei Sewell, but he did trade up to get Jameson Williams. He traded back, I believe, to get Jahmyr Gibbs. He traded up to get Terrion. So he trades up quite a bit. Tactical Sport, he's going to love this one. He traded up to get Broderick Martin. But that wasn't in the first round. Who is Tack? I don't know too many better teams than the Detroit Lions. I mean, I think we proved that last year that the list of teams that are better than the Lions is not long. It's not like what it used to be, right? I think as fans, we've just been conditioned so long to believe that the Lions automatically suck, even when they don't. So, Tactical Sport. He said, yes, he sure did. But Tactical Sport didn't say none of that, what you just said. All right. Let's see. Let's get to the NFC North team. BM, Bowel Movement, or Broderick Martin. Yeah, both of those work. But I just said the schedule is going to be tough for us. Yes, the schedule is going to be tough. That doesn't mean we can't win games. It's just going to be a tougher, harder schedule, right? It's hard to beat dynamic teams. Lamar Jackson is a dynamic quarterback. He's got Derrick Henry. He's got Zay Flowers. He's got Mark Andrews. He's got guys that are hard to cover and hard to stop. Patrick Mahomes is a dynamic quarterback. Most would say he's the greatest quarterback of our generation, but I don't know how you would say that because Tom Brady was in our generation, so you can't really say that. But hey, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs have been on a hell of a run, since he entered the league and since he started playing. So you got guys like that. The Eagles are tough game. It's tough to beat them when Saquon Barkley is rolling and all of these things. And we've got a new defensive coordinator, and how is he going to defend Saquon and what is going to happen there? So it's a lot that I'm saying. Yeah, it's a tough schedule, but I'm not saying that they're going to win 3 games and they're going to miss the playoffs. Playoffs? Okay, I'm not saying that. Maybe Tom Brady should be Lions GM. Maybe we should watch what happens in Las Vegas first before we do that. He traded up and drafted someone who was probably not going to get drafted. I mean, I feel you. I feel you. I don't think the Broderick Martin pick was great either. And I would really love to stop watching projects be taken in the third round. If you're going to have a project, by all means, wait until the fifth round. But, in your first 4 rounds, you should be able to get talented players who can contribute immediately in some capacity. Speaking on Broderick Martin, did we trade or cut him? I have to mention Broderick Martin every show until he's gone. No, there's no news on the Broderick Martin front. He's still well and truly on the team. He's well entrenched here. All right, let me get to the NFC North team who had a quote unquote better offseason than the Detroit Lions. I'm pretty sure you guys think you know who it is, but maybe not. All right. So, number 3 is the Minnesota Vikings. Key acquisitions and returning players: guard Will Fries, or Freeze, as I said, it literally says Fries, Fries. Center Ryan Kelly, cornerback Byron Murphy Jr., running back Aaron Jones. Okay, these are the key acquisitions. I'm not reading that, Kay. Pause to you for trying to get me to read it. All right. I loved the investment in the offensive line. Fries was one of my top free agent gems. He's one of the best players nobody knows about, and he should make a big push for a Pro Bowl spot at guard if he finally recovers from his tibia injury. The need at guard was obvious. The need at center was far more subtle. I thought the Vikings would happily play out another year with Garrett Bradbury at the point, surrendering his pass protection issues for his running game value. Instead, they did what true contenders do and tried to upgrade not just at the needy positions, but also the average ones. I'm not sure it will work. Kelly, 31, is older than Bradbury, 29, and but it's a good risk to take. I didn't love just how much Jonathan Allen cost. In general, double dipping at 3 technique opposite Harrison Phillips is a shrewd approach, and both Allen and Javon Hargrave can provide an immediate impact. I did not, however, expect Allen to tip the financial scales at $17 million per year. The entire defensive tackle market came in above my expectations, so perhaps this was just the cost of doing business. Allen is now the league's 15th highest paid defensive tackle, and Hargrave at $15 million per year is the 18th. While Allen might have been more expensive than I expected, and Hargrave too, for that matter, the theory behind the approach is sound. I just wish it came at a smaller price tag. All right. So the Minnesota Vikings being number 3, and this is not me just being a Homer Lions fan. It doesn't make sense. And there's a big reason why it doesn't make sense. Does anybody in the chat know where I'm going with why the Minnesota Vikings having the number 3 offseason over the Detroit Lions at number 4 doesn't make a whole lot of sense? Does anybody know? Tactical Sport says, is it the offseason champion Bears? No. That's what I figured everyone would think, but the Bears are actually low on this list. We'll get to the Bears next. J Rod says, I took a bet last August, 3rd segment, 13 wins, 15-2 record, Super Bowl appearance. I won 2 of them. Our schedule and indoor games is what I went off. Gonna be a little different this season because they let an MVP candidate walk in the offseason. Right, because you let Sam Darnold go. There was flirtation with Aaron Rodgers, and then you ultimately settled on JJ McCarthy, who is an unproven quarterback at the NFL level. So because you did those things at the quarterback position, I can't give you number 3 because you don't know what you're going to do. All right. If you're settled on JJ McCarthy at quarterback, that's cool. What's he going to do in the league? Is he going to have an immediate impact like Jaden Daniels, or is he going to be a Caleb Williams who was shaky in the first half of the season, but he got better in the second half of the season? Is he going to be Bo Nix, right? Is he going to be one of these quarterbacks that comes in and hits the ground running? He has the offensive weapons. He has all of the opportunity to do so. I don't know that he will. The Vikings don't know that he will. The NFC North doesn't know that he will. So this is why I would say them being number 3 number 3 overall in the offseason and failing to really establish concrete control over their quarterback position, which is the most important position, I would say that this is the reason that they are not number 3. I don't even know if they would be top 5. They could be top 10, but that is my take on that. I don't know about dog walking. Can't impress. I don't know about dog walking. And the reason, again, this defense got worse by letting Zadarius Smith go. Why? There's only one reason that you say the defense got worse by cutting Zadarius Smith. Obviously, he's a good player, but there's only one reason that people are upset about the Zadarius Smith situation. Can anybody voice what that reason is? Kryptonic TV says LMAO, we have the number 1 offense in the NFL. That didn't change at all. Losing Zeitler, nobody is dog walking the lines. The one pushback that I would give you, I don't think that our offensive weapons changed, but we did change the coordinator. Now, yesterday, I did give a pathway as to how the Lions offense can be more efficient under Johnny Moe than it was under Ben Johnson, Benedict Johnson, Osama Ben Johnson, whatever you'd like to call him, eggs Benedict Johnson. I did give that pathway. If you guys need me to restate the pathway, if you were not here yesterday and didn't hear it, let me know. I'll tell you. Cash doll has nothing to do with football. It's the reason that you're upset about what up though, Taylor Made? Because he was a great Robin to Miles Batman, and we wanted to see what he could do with Hutch. Yes, that is the reason. But I think the underlying reason is because the corresponding move was to re-sign Marcus Davenport. That's why, right? If we had cut Zadarius Smith and gotten Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson or someone else, then I don't think people would be really upset about Zadarius Smith getting cut. And I've said many times that I don't really care that you bring Marcus Davenport back. But now the thing that I'm nervous about, because other people have said that they fully trust Brad Holmes to draft an edge at 28 or to move up in the draft and draft someone who is going to be an edge. Like I saw a post earlier before we came on that said, should the Detroit Lions trade up to draft Mike Green? Because he led the league, the entire college football world, with 17 sacks last season. And I'm like, well, so did Donovan Ezraku. He also had 17 sacks last season. Um, so that's the thing. That is the reason that you're upset about the cutting of Zadarius Smith, because you don't have a viable option outside of Marcus Davenport, and you really, really, really need insurance. Even if Brad Holmes gets a stud in the second round, right? An absolute stud. Like, you end the first round and the first day, you're pissed off. And please do join me for the draft, and tell your friends to join me for the draft, because I will be streaming it. But you're pissed off, um, and then you come back and he drafts someone who fell in the second round. Like, he trades up to the beginning of the first or the second round, or he trades up to whatever trade he has to get to, and then you're like, oh, okay, great. But you're pissed off because it's day one is the whole day. You don't get anything else. It's the first round. So now you got to wait till day two to see what he does. Kryptonic TV says, I get that, but that Goff is the best QB in the NFL in these situations and has never had a setback. 2021, his efficiency ratings all went up. Goff has had 5 coordinators in 8 seasons. We're all good. And next time, bring all of us some Captain Jay's chef. They don't have that here. So, but if y'all want me to come and bring some Captain Jay's, make sure you hit the super chats. Anyway, so as you asked for the recap of how they could be more efficient, I believe the way that the Detroit Lions offense can be more efficient next year or this coming year with Johnny Moe is I believe that the football is going to be run a lot more. So just like in the situation where everyone is upset about them throwing the ball on 3rd and 1, in hindsight, it was a terrible call. And we're talking about the 3rd and 1 where we were about to go up 14-7 or 14-3 in the divisional round. Everyone is upset about that. In hindsight, it was a terrible call because of what happened. Okay, you could blame Jared Goff for not having pocket awareness and not squeezing that ball when he felt the rush. You could blame Amon-Ra St. Brown for slipping out of his route, which is why the timing was off and Jared Goff had to pull the ball down, because he's like, Amon-Ra St. Brown came out of his route and slipped against a linebacker. Never happened before. Okay, you could blame Ben Johnson for calling the play. But I don't believe that a lot of those cute trick plays and everything in 3rd and short or 4th and short are going to happen as much. So I believe that is how you make them more efficient. I believe you're going to take out some of the guessing game. I think there's going to be more high percentage plays that you call on 3rd downs or 4th downs. We know we're going for it on 4th down. That's not the issue. I just think that the plays are going to be more efficient. What I would like to see is always forward, right? One of the things that I hate, I can't stand, is when it's 4th and 1 and you turn your back to the line of scrimmage. No, don't turn your back to the line of scrimmage. Go forward. Okay? If you don't want Jared Goff to do the quarterback sneak, then what I would say is go ahead and grab a Jalen Milroe or somebody in the 3rd round. Even look, I'll take the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th. I think it was J-Rod that said something about the Indiana quarterback who's being compared to Josh Allen, but he's on an injury situation, so he's recovering. Draft him in the 4th or the 5th. Because if he's like Josh Allen, he's a big dude, right? Put him under center. Or, hey, like I've said before, the Travis Kelce thing, right? Where they motion him in under center and he takes the snap. Do that with Sam Laporta. Okay? But the only thing that I would like to see is please stop turning your back to the line of scrimmage on 4th and 1. Don't do that. Okay? And 3rd and 1 is also it's not necessary. Just quarterback sneak it or tight end sneak it. Okay, Impress, you know where I live. Kryptonic TV says Goff had not lost a fumble all season. I don't blame Ben. These games are hard. I think it's undeniable, as you said, horrible call and cocky, which was too early in the game for that. Yeah, but isn't it like when the Seahawks had the ball on the 1 and they refused to hand the ball off? I would have rather handed the ball off 2 times in a row than try to throw on 3rd and 1. Yes. And that's why I say if you are looking at Johnny Moe as more of a hard-nosed, pound the rock type of offensive coordinator, I believe that you're going to get less of those calls. I believe that you're going to get less of the fluff. The fluff is cool when you are up. The problem is that the fluff wasn't only put together when you were up. So then at certain points where you probably shouldn't have called those, like every point in the Washington Commanders game, except for the JMO reverse, okay? Which, I mean, a reverse isn't a trick play. It's a normal play that happens. You trick the eyes, you trick the defense as far as just getting them to think for an extra second as to which way the play is headed. That's fine. But because that became part of the identity, then when it crops up in a bad situation, like, okay, you just ran a reverse, it's dumb to call a reverse pass with the wide receiver who just scored the possession before. Everyone is going to be on high alert. It was a silly call. So I think what I would like to think is that the trick plays on offense will come at a more appropriate time when you're up by 2 or 3 scores. And by scores, I mean touchdowns. Okay, you can be up by 2 scores, and that's 2 field goals. I mean touchdowns. And I think because if you take those plays out of the offense, yes, you may be losing an element of surprise a little bit, but you also are just playing regular football and you're just more efficient and there's less opportunities for mistakes. Taylor Made Media says, I was told that Ben Johnson was Hall of Fame bound. And I, again, don't know who said that. Kryptonic TV says, I played elite level sports, so I'm a little forgiving with blaming too much when, for example, Decker just blocks better, etc. Hindsight is good for this convo, but and future planning. So here's the thing. I was one that defended the call because of the things that you just said. If Decker blocks better, if Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't slip because it doesn't happen, Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't slip coming out of cuts, right? You would say Amon-Ra St. Brown is an elite route runner. So it was startling for Jared Goff to see his best route running, his most reliable wide receiver slip coming out of a route when he was on a linebacker that couldn't cover him. I don't care who it is. If it's Fred Warner, if it's Bobby, it doesn't matter. A linebacker cannot cover Amon-Ra St. Brown one-on-one. He's just not going to get he's not going to be covered by a linebacker. So yes, there were a lot of things that could have happened. And if was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. Right? So I'm just going over, because you are not going to be prone to plays like that, I think the offense would be more efficient. I'm not So here's my issue with the play calling of Ben Johnson. Because we were going to go for it on fourth down anyway. That's the issue that I had. Because we were going to go for it on fourth down anyway. No, I don't like that mentality. And I hope they get rid of that mentality. If you're going to go for it on fourth down anyway, I would say do a better play to get more yards so that you could get the first down on third down. And if you can't, if it just doesn't work for some reason, then fourth down is a different decision. But it just seemed to me when you say things like we were going to go for it on fourth down anyway, that the third down play is simply a throwaway. Right? Like, don't run. If it's 3rd and 12, don't run the ball up the middle into the line where there's no hole because we were going to go for it on fourth down anyway. Because now you make it more difficult for yourself on fourth down. Okay? If you called a better play on third down, and instead of it now being fourth and 11 because you gained 1 yard, now it's 4th and 2 because you gained 10 because you called a better play. This is my point. The JMO INT. Now we get to that insane call, and I absolutely blame Ben for that. That to me was a fireable call. Well, he fired himself. He fired himself and went to Chicago. And it wasn't even just the fact that the JMO interception, the call was bad. The whole play execution was bad. I saw it from the beginning. I knew he was going to throw the ball. Now, here's the thing. If you watch the St. Brown Brothers podcast, the question was asked. I don't remember who asked it. It might have been Equanimous. He said, for all these people throwing the ball, who would you never expect to throw the ball? Amon-Ra, without hesitation, was like JMO. Okay? He's got the worst arm on the team. So why would you ask him in that situation, in a high leverage situation, why would you ask him to throw a football that looked just like the play that he scored on? Again, everyone was already on high alert. When you see JMO get the ball on a reverse, the defense slows up. We're not gonna flow all one way because they just hit us for a 60-yard touchdown. Right? So I'm sure they got chewed out by their defensive coordinator about staying home and staying in their lanes and not over pursuing. I'm sure that conversation just happened. So for you to then turn around and do a play that looks exactly the same, which was slow developing, was asinine. It made zero sense. Tactical Spork says, I get what you two are saying, but what has the best odds of working? Throwing the ball on 3rd and 1 or hand off on 3rd and 1? Handing off the ball on 3rd and 1, 100% has a better odds of working. It's also less likely for things to happen. The only thing that can really happen on a handoff is fumbling the snap, or fumbling the exchange. All right. And then once the running back gets it, obviously he could fumble through the line or whatever. Okay. There's always a risk of a turnover, but when you throw the football, there's 2 risks. Okay. Assuming that the snap is clean. The first risk is that your quarterback can get strip sacked. The second risk is that your quarterback can throw an interception. Okay. And then if we say there's 3 risks, the third risk is that your receiver can catch the ball, get hit, and fumble. Okay. But there's less risk involved in turning around on a 3rd and 1 and handing the football off. Okay. But again, I don't necessarily like turning around on and 1. If it's 2nd and 1, okay. If it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, I don't want you to turn your back. I just want you to go straight up the middle. And like I said, if you were and this was the thing, don't think I'm advocating for this, but I kind of am, okay? I'd love to see Jalen Milroe on the team as the tush push specialist. That's it. Right? You bring in Jalen Milroe on a 3rd and 1, and they're like, well, we know he's going to tush push. Okay, that's fine. Stop it. Stop us from tush pushing. Just like the Eagles, who you know they're going to tush push on a 4th and 1. Stop it. Most of you can't. We stopped it twice. Okay? So I'm not advocating really for Jalen Milroe, but because he's not going past the second. He's not. Okay? But if you got him on the team, it would add, you know what? Bold take. Here we go. Y'all ready? It's my bold take. Here we go. Hold on. I got a cue. I got it. All right, here we go. Y'all ready? All right, it's my bold take. Some people already left. They want to hear my bold take. If you draft Jihad Campbell in the 1st round, I would not be opposed to drafting Jalen Milroe in the 2nd. It's just a bold take. It's not what I'm saying I want, okay? Because someone's going to clip this and be like, yo, Motor City Don P said he wants to draft Jalen Milroe in the 2nd round. I didn't say that. I just said if you get Jihad Campbell in the 1st, I wouldn't be opposed to getting Jalen Milroe in the 2nd. Now, the only thing is Jalen Milroe is not going to be there at pick number 60. Right? So you definitely would have to trade up, and that would be kind of risky. But here's the thing that Jalen Milroe does in 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. He also keeps the defense off the field because it's going to be hard to stop a mobile quarterback in an and 1 situation. It always is. So that's my bold take. I'm not into making hot takes, okay? I don't do things for clicks, okay? There are some people out there that do. There's some people out there that say crazy things, like the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs, and then they wind up in the Super Bowl because they were also 15-2. I'm just saying. There's people out there that do that. What up, though, Jesse Fan? Kryptonic TV says you nailed it. That play was busted from the jump, and that they didn't tell JMO in no way throw that into coverage, throw it out. Yeah, he just, you throw the ball away. Goff had scored on every drive but the first, and the turnovers. They were crossing into Commander's zone with 9 minutes, insane play call. To be fair, we finished the season with most first down conversions and 2nd in rushing TDs and most red zone conversions. We don't need the tushy, but I get having an extra tool idea. Yes, I'm again, a lot of the 3rd down calls were under the category of no, yes, right? A lot of the 3rd down calls did that. I'm glad we got them, but we'd like to see more efficient calls. That's all I'm saying. Hell, I'll even run out of the shotgun rather than throw in that situation in that manner. You can throw the ball on 3rd and 1 later in the game. I think that 3rd and 1 call really turned the game on its head. If you go up 14-3, now just like the next week, when the Eagles went up 14-3, it was over from there. And I said, because I was streaming the game and some of you were with me. Tactical, I'm sure you were with me. I said, if we go up 14-3 here, the game is over. And then we didn't, and it wasn't. Not only would you say that, they start saying pause. Do they? Really? I didn't. Well, being around me, people pick things up. Because when nobody said pause before, Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, for those of you that don't know what I'm referring to, TaylorMade knows exactly what I'm referring to. I'm not saying that I invented pause. Pause is a New York thing. No, but I'm just saying there were certain people around me that started picking up certain things that I would say, and then they would copy them shamelessly. Um, at that point in the game, we need to put foot to neck. Exactly. Okay, exactly. We need to put foot to neck. And that was the issue. All right. Let me get to the topic of the show. Um, and I'll keep the chat engaged with this, but I wanted to where's the article? Because I don't want it on my phone. It's too small on the phone. All right, here we go. Here do we go. Where is the play? Like these trade pitches, like it's the trade pitch between contenders would send $9 million Lions roster, a Lions veteran to Bills. Why would you send Amik Robertson to the Bills? Because you signed Devontae Maddox? Come on, bro. Like I don't get it. I really don't. Some of these things are just very stupid. Okay, it's not there, so I just have to get it from my WhatsApp. 1 second. It crossed off of the site that I had it on. That's why I always like send it to myself to make sure. All right, so this is from A to Z Sports. Best landing spots for the Lions' remaining free agents. A return to Detroit makes sense for a few. Number one, they have edge Darius Smith. Okay, number one. It says Smith's release surprised some, but at the end of the day, the Lions did not want to get caught up in his void years and potentially have to pay him while he's not on the team. Some think a reunion in Detroit could be the way to go, but at the end of the day, it's hard to see that happening, with the Lions appearing to be pointing their sights towards filling that hole in the draft. The Bills make a lot of sense for Smith. Since they just parted with Von Miller, they could use some more edge help, and Smith brings that. I'm just gonna disagree with you there, bro. I again, having to wait for the draft just worries me. And it worries me because if Brad Holmes truly goes BPA, now I heard someone earlier say that Brad Holmes has said, and I don't know, haven't seen this article. Brad Holmes has said that you go BPA when you've got a bunch of holes to fill on your roster, but after those holes are filled, then BPA means best player available at the position of need. Now, I'm pretty sure that Brad Holmes believes that the position of need, the glaring position of need, is the edge position. Would you guys believe that he believes that? There are some that don't. I think that he knows and understands that it is the position of need. But what if, again, devil's advocate, what if he says the position of need is on the offensive line instead of the defensive line? So then in the first round, you don't take an edge. This is the reason why I don't subscribe to that. Okay, it's best to just forget Za'Darius, leave him somewhere else, let him go elsewhere and sign, and then because we're just pointing our sights on the draft. Now, if the Lions themselves are pointing their sights in the draft, and we all have the feeling, I'm going to tell you why we have this feeling. It truly is the missing piece. If you want to get down to it, and if you guys disagree with me in the chat, tell me I'm wrong. The edge position truly is the missing piece. Here's the worry. Do y'all know Brad Holmes' injury situation? Do y'all know the story? Because this is the worry. Let me know if you know the story. If you don't know the story, I'm happy to tell you the story. Justin Fan says I invented pause. That was the dumbest trade I've ever heard of. Not only do I not want to trade Amik, I definitely don't want to trade him to someone who we could meet in the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's crazy. I would take Kaminsky back on a vet minimum as a stopgap first half of the season and cut him deadline if everyone's healthy. I wouldn't cut him. I wouldn't cut Kaminsky because you never know when an injury is going to prop up. And as I said earlier, and TaylorMade Media will love this one. If you're going to bring back Pat O'Connor, you got to bring back Kaminsky. I understand that Kaminsky, and he's one of the people in the free agency that we haven't re-signed yet, and there's really no buzz around him. But I feel like you bring him back. If you're bringing back Pat O'Connor, you definitely need to bring back Kaminsky for depth. He should be 100% healthy. Yes, the car accident. I don't know. Yes, the car accident situation is what I'm talking about. So when you look at when you look at Marcus Davenport, are you sure 100%? Because we do have the injury history, we do know what happened with Brad Holmes. We do know what happened with Emmanuel Mosley. We know he sees himself in these injured players. Are you 100% sure that they're going, I think Marcus Davenport is going to make it through the season? I don't think we need to address this in the first round. That's all I'm asking. That's it. I know that Brad Holmes is an extremely smart individual. Okay? I know that. But sometimes our instincts and sometimes our proclivities, right, and our favoritisms can lead us to do things which are not always smart. This is why I'm like, if you sign Zadarius Smith back, and then I don't care. Like if you don't get an edge in the first round, I'm like, it's cool because they'll get one in the second. If you don't get one in the second, I'm like, it's cool because they'll get one in the third. You know, I don't think that they're gonna let the entire draft go by without addressing, maybe even double dipping. Okay, because I do kind of expect Brad Holmes to double dip on the edge. All right, he's double dipped in the defensive tackle room before. So I would expect him to double dip on the edge in this situation, especially because there's so many, it's such a deep class. But that's the thing. That's the only thing that I look at and I go, bring Big Z back. Kaminsky wasn't a sack master, but he was one of the better tacklers when he was on the field. And we need good tackling because that Bills game, guess who was out there missing a bunch of tackles? Josh Pascal. So bring back Kaminsky. All right. The second one, Jalen Reeves-Maybin. We know Jalen Reeves-Maybin is not coming back. It says this was another surprise with a year removed from his all-pro season. The Lions let him go in early March and then found their new guy in Grant Stewart. Right. So because Grant Stewart is here, we don't think Jalen Reeves-Maybin is coming back. But, you know, I mean, it is possible. They brought him back before, right? He went to Houston, and then the next year he came back to Lions. So it says the Titans feel like a good spot for him. It would be a return home for Maybin, who grew up in Tennessee and played for the Vols there. Plus, they could use some special teams help. Um, and I wouldn't be too terribly broken up. Again, they've already replaced him, so I wouldn't be terribly broken up if he didn't come back. Um, Great locker room guy, great special teams player, and I hope that he does very well wherever his next stop is. Guard Coyote Iwasika. It was a bit surprising that the Lions didn't hold on to Iwasika since he played fairly well in relief. He's someone that you can expect other teams to be looking at ahead of camp. The Ravens make sense for him since they need some interior offensive line help, while Awasika, wouldn't be expected to start for them. He could provide solid depth. I would like to see them bring back Awasika. This is the guy that helped me to understand Jonah Jackson wasn't that great. If you remember in the NFC Championship game, where did we rush for like 150 yards in the first half? Jonah Jackson didn't play that game. Okay, which was one of the many games that he didn't play. He wasn't available because he was injured. And not missing a beat and rushing for 150 yards in the first half. I think it was 150. It was something crazy. Because we were gashing and gouging the San Francisco 49ers in the run game. I would like to see Awasika back, especially since we lost Kevin Zeitler. You need a guy that you know that you can count on. Christian Mahogany is great. He was a rookie. We haven't seen him as in a whole season as a starter. So there may be some ups and downs, or he may just be that plug and play guy that you're comfortable moving off of Zeitler from a year early. So I don't know, but I would like to see Awasika back. Justin Fan says Z will be back, in my opinion. Tactical Sports says at this point, we are either depending on Davenport or we are depending on a rookie. There's no juice with Pascal, and we know we're not getting anything from Broderick Martin. Yes, I know Broderick Martin is a defensive tackle. Just wanted to add him. It's very on brand for you, Tactical, and I'm not mad at it. Yeah, you're depending on Davenport or a rookie. And especially if you draft a Shamar Stewart, if you draft a Michael Williams, you know, that's a great fit for them, especially Shamar Stewart, because they're literally like the same size. So he can teach Shamar how to do all the things that he knows how to do. And Shamar would take it from there. And he would have Hutch on the other side of him, and he would have DJ Reader, and then when Aleem McNeil gets back, he'll have him. So he'll have a lot of help on the line. So a defensive end as a rookie doesn't frighten me as much as a Marcus Davenport trying to be healthy all season. I know I really sound like a big Marcus Davenport hater. And if Marcus Davenport ever sees this, I really don't hate you. I really hope that you get healthy and you can stay healthy for the entire season. But the track record has not shown that ability. I wish you all the best. I want you to get all of the money from your incentives. I want you to have 15 sacks this season. I want you to play all 17 games and all 3 or 4 playoff games. I want you to be the first one to hoist the Lombardi. I want all of that to happen. I just don't know that it can or will because of the health situation. All right, Ben Neiman. For as much as Dan Campbell talked about this guy last year, it's a bit shocking he hasn't been retained by the Lions. We're not ready to give up on that yet. We're practicing, or we're predicting he's back in Detroit by training camp. If he stays, if he goes, Malcolm's coming back. Trevor Nowatzki is coming back. If he stays, if he goes, Ben Neiman, I'm not really moved either way. He's a depth piece. I don't want to see. I know he has Super Bowl experience, he played with the Chiefs and all that stuff, but seeing him on the field during regular defensive play, taking snaps is again not something that I want to see because if that happens this year, that means we've been bitten by the injury bug again. Okay. So Derek Barnes is back. Malcolm will be back at some point in the season. Look for us to draft a linebacker named Jihad Campbell in the first round. If you really want to set this thing off. Hold on, where my camera at? I'm gonna cut a promo. Y'all ready?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
I'm cutting the promo. Detroit Lions, if you really want to set this thing off, if you really want to see the Lions defense get to new heights, then what you need to do is you need to go ahead and draft yourself a Jihad Campbell. Let me tell you about Jihad Campbell. I heard about Jihad Campbell this year. I'm not even gonna lie to you, act like I was following the draft, like Brad Holmes does, like 8 years in advance. I heard about Jihad Campbell this year, and I looked at his tape, and I watched Jihad Campbell is a linebacker that can play in all three levels of the defense. He can play on the line. He can defend the run. Now, run defense and getting kind of a little bit washed out in between the tackles. That's something that you're gonna have to develop. That's cool, okay? Because you got to develop everybody. Nobody comes out of college as a finished product. But bro, my man can cover. He can play against the run. He can put his hand in the dirt and rush the passer. What else do you need? He is a Swiss Army knife, and he said as such at the combine. He said he wanted to be used as a Swiss Army knife. So if you want to level up the defense, Detroit Lions. If you want to level it up, let me tell you what you do. All right? With some pick of the first round, because I know it don't have to be the 28th pick. I don't know if you're going to stay there. You can trade up. With some pick in the first round, the Detroit Lions draft Jihad Campbell. All right, the crowd goes wild for my promo, and the crowd goes wild for my pick. All right, so at some point, I expect the Detroit Lions to draft a linebacker. In the later rounds, your boy Barrett Carter could do the thing. Barrett Carter's a dog from Clemson. If y'all ain't seen his tape, go watch it. So Ben Neiman to me is whatever. Okay. Now, we talked about this before. Edge John Kaminsky. Kaminsky had a killer 2022 season, but struggled to replicate that in 2023 and then missed the entire 2024 season. The Lions don't appear to be looking to bring him back at this time. The Panthers make a lot of sense for him because he'd reunite with Todd Wash there. It was under him that he had his best season. Unless you're double dipping in the draft, which you can't really predict, right? Unless the draft is scripted and the Detroit Lions already know who they're going to get, like they've already sat down at the league meetings and said, hey, we're drafting this guy in round 1. Who you guys drafting? Like if they sat around and scripted the draft with all 32 GMs and owners, then that's one thing. Because you're going to go into the draft and who you're going to get. If it is the crapshoot that it is, if it is the trade up and down and everybody, if it is the spectacle, if we're really watching live sports while we're watching the draft, I don't know how you depend on the double dip. Yes, look, you can draft the same position in every round. You have 7 rounds to pick. There are 7 defensive linemen, 7 edges that you can draft. In every round, there's an edge that can be drafted in the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and then the seventh. But unless you know who's going to be available for sure, 100%, I would bring back Kaminsky as depth. Okay, you got a guy, he's going to be cheap, right? He's going to be cheap. You signed him to a contract extension after the 2022 season. He didn't do great in the 2023 season and then missed the entire 2024 season. He's going to be cheap. He's going to be affordable. You brought back Pat O'Connor. You re-signed Mitchell Agood to the practice squad. Mitchell Agood, again, is one of those people that there were people that lost their minds over. Oh, my God, Mitchell Agood, this guy in preseason. People, Lions fans, remember, 4-0 in the preseason, 0-16 in the regular season. Don't put too much stock into what you see in the preseason. Okay? There's going to be a lot of preseason stars. A lot of them. Maurice Alexander, anyone? Great in the preseason returning kicks. Not necessarily this preseason. Was not your kick returner throughout the season. Was brought back very briefly. And I know this because it was my best performing video when they brought him back. Is I get 5,000 views. Don't put too much stock in the preseason. Okay, there were people losing their minds over Matthew Betts. There were people losing their minds over Mitchell Agood and others who did not make a lick of impact when the regular season started. Matthew Betts went back to the CFL. Mitchell Agood was largely on the practice squad, and whenever he did come up, he only played special teams. So just don't lose your marbles over these guys that you see in the preseason. All right, let me get to some of your comments. Joseph Fan says, we all know you only get ish from BM. That's a good one, Joseph Fan. Hey, I need to get a I need to get that one. Taylor May says, would the world come to an end if Brad Holmes decides to give the first round to the O? It depends on which O. If it's the O that starts with WR, oh yeah. Oh, we gonna riot. Oh, we gonna quit. We gonna quit. We gonna quit hard. Tadu says Davenport is a good dude. I wouldn't put money on him playing more than 2 games, but he's a good dude. I think he'll play more than 2 games. I think I put the over under. What was the over under 7 games? I think he'll play more than 2. Last year was a freak injury, freak whatever, and people say it was malicious and the person did it on purpose, whatever. So my only thing was, if it hadn't been that, what else would he have dealt with that would have put him out for the season, or significant amounts, or, you know, he misses every other game. You know, he had the groin injury that we really didn't see in the first week. He missed the second week, comes back in the third week and gets injured for the season. Maybe if that doesn't happen, maybe he plays 7, 8, even 9 games, maybe even 10. But again, just not 17. What up, though, Zach J? Can't go wrong with Campbell, Soup, coaches, linebackers. Hey, Justin Fan's on fire today. I'll tell you what. TaylorMade Media says, and you're not a rookie shooting gaps on 330-pound Eagles O-line. Right. So, you know, get some seasoning, get some development. Tom Kennedy, route runner, preseason. Exactly. Tom Kennedy, route runner extraordinaire. He's like wide receiver 1 every preseason. Training camp, he's always doing his thing. All year he's on the practice squad. So again, don't lose your marbles. Understand what you're seeing. All right. There's a few more here. Some of them are really good. This one I'm not even going to read. Kicker, Michael Badgley, no. Sorry, bye. We got Jake Bates. It was nice seeing you. If you want to stay at the Jake Bates Motel, you have to do the same thing that all of us are doing, watching it on TV. No, sir. Michael Badgley, hope you do great elsewhere, wherever it is that you go. He worked out with the Jets, apparently. So maybe AG will bring him back. All right. OT Connor Galvin had 2 good summers with 2 good preseasons, and then he got hurt and missed the entire year. Just a super hard setback for a guy who was showing some things and probably would have been on a practice squad all year. The Lions should give him one more shot at it this summer. He has swing tackle possibility written all over him. Okay. Connor Galvin, again, an offensive tackle in the preseason, once again, that you're paying attention to. Because didn't Kobe Sorsdal kind of pop in the preseason? And then the balloon popped. So as a developmental guy, if you want to bring him back, you do need developmental guys, and you do need swing tackles. So, I mean, again, if they re-sign Connor Galvin, if they don't re-sign Connor Galvin, I'm not going to be moved either way. Emmanuel Moseley. All right. I think this one is a no-brainer.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
Okay, that's just no. We've seen we've seen that one before. Okay, and there's something else. If you bring back Emmanuel Moseley, guess what?
That does not make sense.
Okay, so that's just gonna be a big no on Emmanuel Moseley. So at this point, I hope he just gets a shot somewhere. It's probably not going to be Detroit, though. Yes, no. He says, I don't want to be the guy who says a player should retire. You don't have to be the guy, Mike Payton. This is an article from Mike Payton, by the way. Don't have to be that guy. I've been that guy. I've been telling you, Emmanuel Moseley, just retire and become a coach. I'm sure the Detroit Lions will give you your first coaching job on the spot. Retire. The body can't do it anymore. It's okay. Okay? Those who can't do, teach. Okay? Those who can, do. Those who can't do, teach. He can't do anymore. Okay? Tactical Spark says, I have a question. Can we stop acquiring injury-prone players? I really hope so. Yes, I also hope so. Teddy Bridgewater. Charlie Murphy. We don't know if Bridgewater is going back into retirement or what his plan is, but it's pretty clear that you can't rule out a return to Detroit for him. Dan Campbell loves this guy. Sign him up, bro. I mean, why not? Just get the gang all back together. All right, defensive tackle Kyle Peko had a really good summer last year and earned a spot on the team. Then he got hurt, and it ruined what would have been a good year for him. With Roy Lopez in town, a return to Detroit seems out. The Chiefs make sense for him since they need some interior defensive line help. He beat good depth there. Again, Kyle Peckel's another guy coming off of an injury. I know he was a decent depth piece, but again, with Roy Lopez in the fold, probably not. All right. This one hurts. Okay? Because I would never want to see a Detroit native removed from his hometown team. Even though he didn't provide us with anything. And it's not because he sucked. It's just because he's old. Okay? He used to be a dog. All right? And if you're from Detroit, you probably going to be a dog anyway. But he used to be a dog. Okay. And this man I'm talking about is none other than a Mr. Allen Robinson. Said the last we heard, Robinson was considering retirement, and I hope he does. That might be the best way for the former Pro Bowler to go. Yes. I hope he retires. He can come back to the Lions and be a coach. You know we love our player coaches. You know we love them. Former players, that seems like kind of a prerequisite to be a Lions coach. You had to have played somewhere, unless your name is Ben Johnson. All right. Johnny Moe played in college. I think didn't he say he ran a 4.3 40 and some gym shoes or something? So apparently Johnny Moe was really fast back in the day. He was a receiver. So the funny thing is that he's also J-Mo, who's a fast receiver, right? But yeah, Marcus Robinson or Allen Robinson, go ahead and hang him up, bro. Go ahead and hang him up. Come on back. Be a coach. Tactical Spork says, I was always told when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Yes. That is true. And this is the whole thing about Marcus Davenport, Emmanuel Mosley, and other injured players. I mean, it's not a character flaw to be injured, but it's a football flaw. And we're talking about football. So that's a big thing. Don't be injured. That's number one. You know who used to be a dog? Tease Tabor out there running a 40-yard dash like a corgi. Tease Tabor was possibly the worst draft pick ever. Oh, Mr. Bob Quinn thinking he was the smartest guy in the room. I've watched more tape on Tease Tabor than anybody in this draft. Then you probably should have understood not to draft him. I'm just saying. Didn't he go to Chicago and wash out after a year? I don't know. I don't know if he went to the UFL or the CFL or any of the FLs, the XFL. I'm not sure. All right. I'm going to check this because I didn't do it yet. All right. No mailbag questions in the Discord. The mailbag questions in the Discord is completely empty. Not a single mailbag question has been entered there. Somebody needs to put a mailbag question in there. Maybe salt the tip jar. Speaking of salting the tip jar, I don't want to say this one on air, but I know a guy. Who was paying money for somebody to give away memberships. No, the worst draft ever was Broderick Martin. You know why? You know why I put Tease Tabor over Broderick Martin? Here's the thing. Broderick Martin was drafted as a project. He was just drafted too early. Brad Holmes wasn't trying to convince you that he was a can't miss prospect and that he would be viewed as the smartest guy in the room once this guy hit. Bob Quinn literally came out and told you he had done more work on Tease Tabor and watched more film on Tease Tabor than anyone else in the draft. And he still drafted him. That is crazy. And that is why he's the worst draft pick ever. TaylorMade Media is true. Just Fan, I guess it's your mailbag question, right? So TaylorMade Media says, if I ran a 5.2, no way in hell John Morton ran a 4.3. Nowhere. Ain't buying it. Bro, that's the story. He told Danny Rogers that story. So yeah, look it up. As when he was a receiver coming out of college, he said he ran a 4.3 in gym shoes. He said Tease Tabor actually did things, not very well, but he did things. What has Broderick Martin done? The things that Tease Tabor didn't help us, and I would rather he didn't do them on our team, right? Would you rather see? Here's the thing. I know you don't like Broderick Martin. Here's an honest question, and I want you to give me the answer as to why. Would you rather have Will Harris on your team or Broderick Martin? Just think about that one, because I got a great answer for that. So Jesse Fan says, what is your draft hopes? My draft hopes. What are my draft hopes? I'll tell you my draft hopes with the soundbite. I'm trying to find it. Okay, here it is. You ready? These are my draft hopes.
Who are the 5 best rappers of all time? Think about it. Dylon, and Dylon. Because I spit hot fire.
Okay. Now, if you're wondering how that correlates, just a fan, what are my draft hopes? Think about it. Defense, and defense. Because we need to stop Lamar Jackson. That's why. That's my draft hopes. Zach J says, what would you rather do? Trade up in the first or trade back if we don't stay at 28? Trade up. All the way up. Just go up and get an impact edge. You know what I mean? You know that, did you guys see the Kevin Hart? I forget which one it was, but his comedy special when he was like, getting money. Getting money. This is what I want you to do when it comes to trading up. Getting edge. Getting edge. That's what I want. That's all. Or Jihad Campbell. I've seen him go as high as number 12 or number. Did he go 9? He went 9 to the Saints. So I mean, if he's going that high, which I don't think he is, because again, PFF had Donovan Ezeraku going number 10. Which, okay. Yes, it depends on who you like. Taylor May said, that's like the cat who claims to have been a 5-sport athlete in high school, but ain't lettered in one. These claims that people make. Like when I say something about myself, it's true. I don't lie about myself. Like I will tell you, like when I went to high school in Georgia. I went to 2 different high schools. My first high school was Centennial High School in Roswell, Georgia. The coaches nicknamed me Little Barry. I did not do anything. I did not say anything. I wasn't like LeBum James, like, call me Little Barry. No, they get out of their own mouths. They gave me that nickname. Zach J says, I should look up last year's PFF rankings to see if they know what they're talking about. You know, a lot of times PFF doesn't know what they're talking about. A lot of times they don't. It's the whole thing with the blind squirrel finding a nut, or a broken clock being right twice a day. But no, PFF a lot of times don't know nothing. Tactical, where you at, man? What's it? Is it Broderick Martin or Will Harris? Don't do no research now. I just want you to come, say it with your chest. Because the way you feel about Broderick Martin is the same way I felt about Will Harris. Right? We all have banes of our existence on teams at times, and Will Harris surely was mine. Oh boy, did I not like to see Will Harris on the field. Didn't like to see it at all. Hope he stays with the Saints. Don't become a free agent ever, Will Harris. Please re-up. And once you become a free agent, retire. Because if I see you come back to the Detroit Lions, I will quit. I am out. I'm not doing it again. Okay? I'm just not. So Will Harris, stay where you are. Don't come back. We don't want you here. Great guy, apparently. Great human, apparently. Not a great football player. And a lot of times people will be like, well, he made it to the NFL. What did you do? Okay. As a person, I'm gonna say this. As a person who was a running back and a cornerback, I am better at my positions of play than Will Harris is at his. Yes, he may be in the NFL. That's a lot. Like if you look at some rappers who are terrible, everybody knows a rapper personally from their childhood or their teenage years in high school that raps better than Kodak Black. Everybody knows a person that's better than a person. Everybody knows a basketball player that played basketball better than, whoever. But they just didn't make it to the league. And it's all, circumstances and different situations. That's all. Right? Whatchamacallit? Will Harris went to Boston College. I went to Kennesaw State. And at the time I went, they didn't have a football team. They got one now. Estefan says Okuda. Again, another bane of my existence. Tactical must not be here. Because I know Tactical's not ducking the smoke. He doesn't duck the smoke. Broderick Martin. All right. Any more mailbag questions? Questions in general before I pack it up? Pack it up, pack it in. Let me begin. TaylorMade Media says these are facts. Yes. Will Harris is terrible at football. Hey, Will Harris is great at life, right? He was able to take his subpar football skills and parlay them into a multi-year NFL career. How long has Will Harris been in the league? 7 years? 6? 5 maybe? I don't know. I think because his first 4 years he was with the Lions. I think he's been about 5 years, maybe 6. Will Harris is about as versatile as a hefty bag. Versatility doesn't work if you do a bunch, like when you say jack of all trades, master of none, that generally means that you can do things well. You just haven't mastered anything in particular. Nobody ever says, like, I'm a jack of all trades. right? I can do everything. I can sing, I can dance, and you can't carry a tune and you have two left feet. Like everyone can attempt to sing and dance, but that doesn't mean that they can do it to any degree of success. So when Will Harris goes out there at corner and safety, he's not doing it to any degree of success. That doesn't make him versatile. Versatility means you can do a lot of things well. Right? Everybody in the NFL can carry the football, but it doesn't mean that you can be a running back. You know what I'm saying? He said he can't do anything good. But no, he's not versatile because he can't do anything well. Did I say anything about Amik? You mean the ridiculous trade proposal that sent Amik Robertson to the Bills? I talked about that. Was there something else about him? If anybody has any connections to Mike Payton, I've been trying to get him on the show. I just don't think I'm big enough yet. I probably have to have like 3,000 subscribers before, like, he'll answer stuff on Twitter, but when I ask about getting him on the show, he's quiet. So I'm just quoting our coaching staff. LOL, I'm on the side of Will Harris being a bum. Bro, one thing that I will say about Dan Campbell is if you're out there trying, if you're giving and Will Harris tries, bro. Will Harris, again, like I said, good dude, apparently, from what I've heard. Not a great football player. But has parlayed the not greatness into a pretty long NFL career by the standards, because if you say the average NFL career is 3 years, and then you got Will Harris out there, and you just wonder every year, is this going to be the last one? And it's been more than 3. As I said, I think he's going into year 6 now. So, shout out Will Harris, man. Will Harris has done a great job for himself. He's done a great job for his family, and that's what it's all about, right? That's what it's all about. So I'm not going to disparage Will Harris as a human. He's taking care of his responsibilities, doing what he's supposed to do, and I hope he takes this wealth and he invests it wisely. And he's got college funds for his children, and he's able to leave money behind, all these things. Successful life, bro. More power to you. More power to you doing what you're doing. I'm not, again, when we see, here's the thing, right? Like the whole Stephen A. Smith thing, bro. Ain't nobody, he was talking about LeBum, or if he said something about LeBum James Jr., it wasn't personal. He's just talking about, this is opinion of the game. It's a basketball opinion. People like, you can't get mad that people critique you as an athlete if you play professional sports. Now, if I go to the Y or the rec league and I just start picking on a dude, like, man, I just came out here to get some run and to play some ball. Why are you bothering me? You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, yes. But if you are a public athlete playing a professional sport, you're open to criticism. Didn't know that was the deal. Yeah, it's yeah, it is what it is. All right, guys, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to go ahead and get myself back to work as I always do. I will not be here tomorrow. I am waiting to see I'll probably talk to the syndicate throughout the evening to see if he wants to come on and kind of give his opinion about this topic, about the overall Detroit Lions free agency period. I know he wants an edge, but we'll see if he can. We'll see. I'll see if I can get him to say something positive about about the Lions offseason. But yeah, so I reached out to him earlier today, and we'll see what he says. No, he's not ducking me. He's not doing a Mike Payton. We talk pretty regularly. We talked a lot yesterday as well. I just didn't have this article in front of me and didn't know I was going to talk about this particular article today until I heard about it earlier. But yeah. Tactical came. He said, sorry, got a phone call. Ask Derek if I like Will Harris. I was complaining about Will Harris just like I complained about Broderick Martin. Depending on why you go to, some of these cats don't play getting fouled. All right. But that's the question, though. All right. So now you agree that both of them are terrible. Which one of them would you rather have on your team? Will Harris or Broderick Martin? And I have a great reason as to why my answer is going to be Broderick Martin. So the floor is yours, Tactical. You can let me know why you would rather have Will Harris on the team than Broderick Martin. Nobody likes Will Harris. As a football player, again, the caveat, nobody likes Will Harris as a football player in Detroit. Let me just be very clear. As a human being, I hear that he's well-liked and he's a cool dude and all that. These are the things that I hear about Will Harris. So we'll give Tactical a minute to prepare his argument. And I have a very simple retort. Will Harris played some teams too. He played us. He played the Detroit Lions. And by playing us, I mean he took us for fools. By convincing us to draft him, he played us. He took us for fools. We all look like Boo Boo the Fool. We have Boo Boo the Fool written on our foreheads. When they drafted him, I watched this film and I was just like, I was like, okay. All right. He's probably not going to make the team. And then the next year, I was like, all right, this is the year. We cut him. Okay. Next year, this is the year. All right. Next year, this is the year. So imagine my surprise when they didn't bring him back. And I know it is. I know I'm getting on him. I'm getting on Will Harris. It's not personal, bro. It's not personal. Salty Pork Chops, what up, though? He said, damn it, just got on here and I see Will Harris' name in the chat. I quit. I'm waiting on Tactical to tell me what his argument is about Will Harris and Broderick Martin and which one is worse. He said, that's like asking if I want crack cocaine or PCP. But you gotta choose one, though. You gotta choose one. You know, in that case, what was the rapper's name in Texas? Was it Big Gooch or somebody like that who's currently serving a life sentence for eating a woman while on PCP? He ate her. They found human remains in his fecal matter as they found him naked, covered in blood, howling at the moon. Okay? So your answer in that case is crack cocaine. Because I don't think anybody high on crack ever ate another human being. Yeah. So you got to pick one. Is it Broderick or Will Harris? Which one of those guys would you rather have on your team? I know it's a tough choice, but I'll give you my answer. Okay? The answer is not tough to me. He goes, nobody. No, you gotta choose first. I'm choosing Broderick Martin. And the reason is similar to what Salty Pork Chops is. He says, we all know what Will Harris was. Broderick Martin is a complete unknown. Whenever Will Harris entered onto the field, you knew the ball was going to start going in his direction. And when the ball started going in his direction, bad things happened. Touchdowns were given up. Tackles were missed. Third downs were converted. All of these things. All of the things that you don't want to happen. Broderick Martin can't get on the field, which means whatever deficiencies that he has, they cannot be exploited by the other team. And that is why you would rather have Broderick Martin on your team. Because he can't hurt you. That is it. He can't hurt you. He said, I'd rather have an empty roster spot. We'd all rather have an empty roster spot. But when you got to pick one, it's the one that can't hurt you. He can't do damage to your team. He does no damage to your team by simply not being by simply being on the roster. Okay? He's just taking up a spot. And the spot that he's taken up, I don't think is particularly desirable. Like, what is he? The third or fourth defensive tackle on the team? I mean, if you have a third or fourth defensive tackle, a lot of times you don't even know his name. You don't expect him to make an impact. He's probably gonna, be on field goal block or field goal protect or punt protect, or he's probably gonna be doing something to special teams. Salty Pork Chop says, who was worse in Lions uniform, Harris or Harris? That's not even a question. That's not even a question, Salty. No. Kendall Vildor has one play that people can't get out of their heads, which is the NFC Championship game, ball going off of his head. But guess where he had to be for the ball to go off of his head? In position with good coverage on a Brandon Ayuk, who is a starting receiver in this league, and Kendall Vildor came up from the practice squad. We also did not draft Kendall Vildor. We did not waste a draft pick on Kendall, or I'm not going to say waste. We didn't use a draft pick on Kendall Vildor. We drafted Will Harris. Okay? Kendall Vildor was a person that came in to play special teams and to give you some depth. And he got thrust into a starting position. Will Harris was a person that I think he survived regimes. Wasn't he drafted by Fatty Matty Patty and the boys? Okay. And was expected to do something. I don't know what it is that he was expected to do. So no, Vildor without question was better in a Lions uniform. Yeah, that face mask ball from hell is just a moment in time. One moment in time. Kendall Vildor, when he played in spot duty and filled in, he was serviceable. You know, he was out there not giving it up. Right? He played in the Colts game this year, and that was like his worst game. Then that was his first game action for the entire season. Then he played against the Bears and did well. Right? The touchdown in Dallas, yeah, he fell down, but if Derek Barnes gets the safety, which he completely whiffed on, all right, but he redeemed himself later by sending us to the NFC Championship game with that interception of Baker Mayfield. But if he gets the safety, which he was completely open to get, and no one to this day can understand how he didn't, like he fell asleep like he had narcolepsy. He was like, I got him. You know, I don't know what happened. Okay. But had he just hit Dak like he was supposed to, then that 97, 95-yard touchdown to CeeDee Lamb doesn't happen, because it doesn't matter if Kendall Vildor fell down trying to cover one of the best receivers in the league. So, yeah, no. Kendall Vildor all day, right? If you ask me if I'd like to have, Kendall Vildor, if you say, I would say this, you could give me 5 Kendall Vildors and players such as Kendall Vildor over one Will Harris. And when I say 5 Kendall Vildors,
Who are the 5 best rappers of all time? Think about it. Dylon, and Dylon. Because I spit hot fire.
all right, that's 5 Kendall Vildors, please and thank you. All right, people. I am out of here. As I said, I got to get back to work. Make that moolah. But as I said, I'll keep you posted. If Derek is going to be on the show, I will put up a community post a little bit later on. Tactical Sport. No. 5 Vildors over 1 Will Harris. I think 1 Will Harris would do more damage to your team than 5 Kendall Vildors. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, once again, Motor City Cats back at it. Came to give you stats, not static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And if you should so happen to come across any person who tells you that the Detroit Lions changed the way they do their press conferences just to screw with you, you should ask this person, or you should say to this person,
You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you? Look at me, boy. Don't you smoke crack?
all right. And we are out. Peace.